I'd like to call October 7th, 2024 City Council meeting for the City of Lake City to order. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings and your looking after our community. We ask during this time that you look after all the people that will be involved in the storm that's coming. Look out for their families, their property. Guide us through all this. And what we do tonight is pleasing in your eyes and for the betterment of our community. And look after our first responders and law enforcement at this time. In your name we pray. Amen. You call the roll.
Councilmember Jernigan.
Present.
Councilmember Hill. Councilmember Young. Councilmember Carter.
Present.
Mayor Witt.
Here.
City Manager Rosenthal.
Here.
Attorney Martin.
Here.
Chief Butler.
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal, improvement, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous by addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There's only one approved manner of addressing the city council. That is to be recognized and speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not to openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or firearm while they're by the meeting. Failure to abide by the rules of the floor will vote and leave of the meeting. We have approval of the agenda, and I've been asked to move out of 16 before 15. And without amendment, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
It's approved, Mayor. Second.
Motion second to approve the agenda is amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public participation. I have a couple here. Ms. Goggins.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Betty Goggins and I reside at 721 Southeast King Street. Mayor Witt, and to each of you, I just had some questions that I needed answers to, and hopefully I can stand and have those answers today, okay? I had a question. I live in the Melrose Park Elementary neighborhood community on Camp Street. I know I have been before the council numerous times about the street and the fact that it needs to be resurfaced. But I'm standing to ask, number one, who is our representative spokesperson for that area?
Whose district is that in?
Yes, because, ma'am, let me give you a moment to think, because I remember that where Mr. Jernigan is seated now, that there was another person there who quit that job. And that seat was left unfilled for quite a while. And we had no one to speak out for anything going on in that neighborhood. Therefore, a lot of stuff did not get done. I remember Be Faithful, Mr. Jernigan and others, they were vying for the seat. And it did not get filled as quickly as the seat Mr. Carter has when Todd left. So we had to wait and get it on the poll and vote. So now Mr. Jernigan is sitting there, and it was precinct 14. That was 2022. I'm told now that they moved it in 2023 now, and it's another precinct under somebody else, maybe Ms. Young, I'm not sure. That's why I'm standing to get the answers tonight.
Ms. Young, isn't it, Ms. Young?
Yes,
You
sir.
go to Beta.
And if I may, she's speaking of before the redistricting.
Right.
Okay, and therefore, because of not having representation, okay, and did I get 3 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And because of the fact that there was no representation, you know, we don't have what's necessary to go on and function. even as far as, and I know everybody's, with the hurricane and they want things picked up and everything, but I mean, it's just total nothing in that area has been done, absolutely nothing. So I'm just asking, once again, who is going to be the mouth, speak up for the area? Who is gonna put it on the agenda to put money behind getting the street fixed?
I think it's on the agenda to get fixed, isn't it, Mr. Rosenthal?
I think it's on the schedule. I have to defer to Steve if he's here. Steve, you wanna?
And thank you for this time.
So the Camp Street was actually put in for a stop grant, which we were aware of in the first part of it. DOT unfortunately did deny that street, it was not put in there for funding through that. So what we did is we went back and rebid it through some of the local asphalt paving companies, and we have some of those updated quotes now. In this budget process, we have a little over $1 million in there for roads. A couple of roads have been jockeying around and getting moved around for position, FAMU, Aggie, some of the roads that we've heard recently. But we do have some funding in there and we do have some quotes. I've actually spoke about this, and one of the questions that we had is this road was divided by a state road. So what I said is we could pave the road in 2 sections, which has got to be done in 2 sections either which way. And I was told that that wasn't actually what we wanted to do. They wanted the whole road paved at one time. And I think it was an understanding of how the process would take place. I spoke with Mr. Ron Williams about it as of recent. He's called me questioning on where we were. The road is on our radar. As far as debris pickup, we are picking up in every district. We have crews in every single district. We have added crews from water, we've added crews from gas, DNC, we have water plant operators. We literally have every crew and every man that has a CDL in the truck. But there's so much of it, it's just gonna take us time to get to every house. So we are effectively moving forward on everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bowden?
Mr. Mayor, Council, Bowden, L 56 Northeast Basketball Road Drive. I want to use this public comment, Mr. Mayor, to talk about I had hoped that I would see something on the agenda from you or from the administration giving those of us who live in the city update on what is happening as it relates to the last hurricane and what's about to happen with this hurricane. I think that those of us who live in the city deserve the same type of update that those who get in the county. I've been part of the county at the emergency management meeting, and they constantly give updates on what they're doing, how they're going to do it. And those of us who live in the city, we live in the city by the choice. It's 13,000 of us, so we would like to know what the plans are. I heard Mr. Steve said that's why I know that they pick up debris. I know that's happening. But the citizens are anxious. We need to know. When you ride down the street, you see these trash piled up, and you see some piles getting moved, some not getting moved. So I think we deserve an update in terms of what's the plan, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, how long it's going to take. You know, I'm not looking for things to happen tomorrow, or even for the next week or two, for the next month. But those living in the city, I think, deserve an answer, some kind of update, where we work on. You know, we want to pick up this kind of debris. We're not going to pick up this kind of debris. The county said the other day that they're not going to pick up anything that a contractor put to the side of the road. But there's some of us living in the city, you know, we don't have no understanding of that. Everything in the past, every time there's been a emergency inside the city, the next since I've been here, wherever I put side of the road, the city got it. Now, if that's going to be the difference this time, is people in the community need to know it in advance. If it's not, then we have this. So I think that either from you, Mr. Mayor, as the mayor of the city, or from the administration, there should be an update, either on your website or in this meeting. This is a good opportunity to do it, because you're on YouTube.
We're gonna do it tonight.
What?
We're gonna give an update tonight.
Okay, well, like I said, I didn't see it on the agenda. You didn't mention that at the beginning of the meeting, so I can't assume to do anything if I don't see it in writing.
Okay,
So I want to encourage you to do that, because we deserve it.
we will.
Thank you.
Okay, Noah?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. 2 Thursdays ago, We got hit with probably the worst wind event that's ever hit Lake City in modern history or recorded history. What some forensic climatologists will end up calling a Category 5 that saw winds sustained for some time here around 115 miles an hour. That being said, I wanted to say that to say and give some applause to our city employees, especially in public works. Whenever I woke up 6 o'clock on that Friday morning and attempting to get out to Highway 90 up Ridgewood Road, it was blocked with three different trees. And then attempting to go back through the Gwen Lake neighborhood, there was 3 more major trees, all of which were tackled that day and moved at least to the side of the road, which have been systematically broken down over time. And I know that that's not unique to any part of the city, so I wanted to give some applause to the hardworking men and women who have been working 7 days a week nonstop to get that debris cut up, moved off to the side, and allow for school buses, for ambulances, for police cars to continue running. Also want to give a huge applause to our water department. One of the beauties of living in the city is that in an event where you lose power, you don't lose water. Even if the showers are cold, there's still showers. So the water kept flowing, and I really appreciate that. And down to the very small parts of even getting my bill on time. I just want to give applause to every department of the city. You guys did a great job. Our first responders, police and fire, responded timely in professional manners every time here over the last week and a half. And you guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much to the employees of the city. Thank you for hearing me tonight.
No, I know you want to speak on item 1.
Yeah, so I actually spoke with the engineer beforehand. My concerns with item 1 are just to make sure that our downstream effects from Gwen Lake and building that dam, and if there was ever a breakage or a massive water event to go from Gwen Lake down into that spillway, that spillway is nice and cleaned out so that those properties, my property is one of those properties down at the end of that spillway, don't get flooded. I just appreciate that consideration as a citizen.
Thank you. Okay, item 1 is Four Waters Engineering, Michael Plank, Gwen Lake project.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Klink with Four Waters Engineering, and I'm here to go over the Gwen Lake project plan. Gwen Lake project plan is efforts of restoring Gwen Lake to its existing conditions of the lake as everyone knew it before. So where we currently are, we got the notice to proceed August 14th. And for the data collection, so far with data collection, we have survey where we have 2 more days of field work. They got delayed a little bit with the last hurricane. We're supposed to be doing the last 2 days this week, so hopefully they don't get delayed. I should get the CAD file by the end of October, which we can start moving into the conceptual design. The geotechnical exploration, STPs, were completed, and they are doing the muck probing, which is determining how much sediment has settled in the lake. That's 75% complete. I guess they had a couple run-in with 2 or 3 10-foot gators out there. So they had to come back and skip over that area. Should get the geotech report end of October. Wetland delineation has been completed and is in the survey. Grant assistance review, there's 3 pending grants previously submitted, all around approximately $2 million. And Shannon with Gateway is here, and she's helping us out with getting grants for engineering, environmental, and also construction. Once we get all the data collection, we'll be able to move into the modeling to determine the conceptual design. This is a complicated project in the fact that it is in a FEMA floodway. So we need to avoid involving FEMA as much as we can to not delay this project. And then the way that we're going to do that is do a study where we are trying to achieve a no rise. Basically, we don't want to change the base flood elevation more than 0.01 feet. If we can achieve that, we can keep FEMA out, and that is the way that we are approaching this project. In order to do that, that would require multiple iterations to determine the conceptual outfall design. It is, could be difficult depending on replacing the structure in the upstream. However, after iterations, hopefully we can achieve this no rise. One item that came up with the state is they categorized this outfall structure as a dam. As of now, they have not categorized it as a low, significant, or high risk. That is going to be based on the modeling, and what is looked at there is how it's impacted downstream, and then it gets categorized in one of those risks. We believe it's a low risk, and that's what our proposal supports. If it is a different one, then it will require a different analysis on how it's impacted. And that's determined based on loss of structure, loss of roads, loss of life. Those are the types of things that the state is going to look at to see how to categorize that. Wetland mitigation is another piece to this project in regards to permitting. We are hoping that it will be self-mitigated, since we are taking Gwen Lake and restoring it back to its existing condition, that we'll be able to self-mitigate it, and in that way not have mitigation fees with Swanee River Water Management District. Once we do this analysis with the modeling, hopefully achieving those, we will develop a conceptual design that we will submit to the Water Management District. This slide just shows a flow diagram of the conceptual design to coordinate with permitting agencies. We're gonna do pre-application meetings with Water Management District and the Corps to go over a lot of the stuff that we just talked about in regards to the modeling. Items that impact the permitting are the wetland impacts, the flood elevation, and the categorization of the dam. Based on those three items, we'll confirm with the Water Management District in regards to the floodplain, no impact, and we can achieve that no rise. And the state agrees with our conceptual design. Once the state agrees with our conceptual design, we'll be able to move into a detailed design to get the permits we need to get the bid documents together. Detailed design will be, part of that will be the permit submittal and updated as necessary for the detailed design. We're hoping when we can accomplish that with a conceptual level in order to get the permitting going, as the Corps is taking a very long time to review permits right now. We're looking at 6 to 9 months, with some of the Corps permits taking as long as 12 months to get permits. The 90% detailed design will be being worked on during the permit submittal or permit review. And then once we receive comments back from permit agencies, we will move forward to the bid documents a month or two later to be able to bid out the project. This is an overall schedule, and in general, what we're looking for is bid documents by next December is what we are targeting with approved permits. Any questions?
So, just to be clear.
Sure.
The dream is, if everything goes well, to begin work early 2026.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next is approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
No. Where we were to take up item 16, discussion possible action, Sweetwater Apartment Phase 2 modification of letter changing the number of units 48 to 48 for Mr. Hill.
Yes, I received a letter a few weeks ago from Mr. and Miss Kellum about apartment complex, and they want to get their application modified. Mr. McKellum, if you would come up and speak on this.
Good evening, my name is Lester McKellum. I live at 480 Northwest Gibson Lane, Lake City, Florida. I'm the executive director of the Gwen Lake City CDC. Back in 2018, we we came to the CRA with a request to develop 84 units of affordable housing here in the city of Lake City. During that time, the CRA approved a $200,000 grant for that purpose. We proceeded to get revenue from the low income housing tax credit. We got revenue from the state of Florida, and we were approved for funding from Columbia County as well. During that time, the economy kind of went on a boom, and the money that we had to do the development at that point with HTG out of Miami, Florida, the money was not enough. Everything went just skyrocketed. The lemon was probably more than what it should have been at the time that we put our proposal together for the construction. So that moved us out of the ability to do that 84 unit with HTG. So that project folded. We were unable to bring the project in. So we had to go back and regroup. We got another co-developer, which is Steve Auger. He is with me tonight, and him and Michael also, a company out of Tampa. We regrouped. We've got the funding that we need again. The letter that we got from the city identifying the number of units is holding us up because our underwriters, the underwriters presently are not the ones that we had back then. These underwriters want to get the a correct number of the units that we're going to develop. This time we're doing 48 units. But the letter we got from the city said 84. So the underwriters want to get that corrected. I have Steve Auger with me tonight. I'll let him to come up and explain, because him and Don have been in contact. He can give you some more background concerning this situation.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members, Steve Auger, I'm the CEO of Birdsong Housing Partners. We stepped in about a year and a half ago working with the McKellums, the Greater Lake City, the CDC to see what we could do about this project. Again, after, I think it was originally in 2018 approved by the CRA in April of 2018, perhaps as a 56 unit deal. Then they got the co-developer from Miami. They tried to ramp it up to an 84 unit deal, applied for funding to Florida Housing at the state, got the funding, could not make the deal work, gave the funding back to the state. That was the point a year and a half ago that we stepped in. We redesigned the program as a 48 unit, applied to Florida Housing for the low-income housing tax credits, were awarded that funding. The tax credit funding that we've been awarded from Florida Housing will bring about $13 million of tax credit equity. We've also gotten another $1.3 million of National Housing Trust Fund dollars, grant funds from Florida Housing. We've gotten $1.2 million in grant funds from the county. And so that $200,000 that the CRA had originally committed, we wanted to clarify that it can be used for this 48 unit project. We recommend, looking at what had sort of occurred up till now and making sure that we do this in a way that protects the city and your investment and is clear what we're doing, we would recommend that $200,000 be codified with a grant agreement between the city and the Greater Lake City CDC. The set-asides would be the same as the set-asides that are committed to for the county. And those income set-asides and the rent set-asides would be recorded in a document, that would give the city, the insurance that and an enforcement ability to make sure that money's being used for what it's supposed to be. The CDC would make a loan to the project, and that would be codified with a note and a mortgage. And in the grant agreement, the CDC would be required to provide to the city the annual compliance monitoring reports that the state does on every tax credit project that they fund. And that way, there's accountability for us making sure that the city's funds are going to who they're supposed to go to and what they're supposed to go to. Over the course of the project, it will ensure that we're keeping it in compliance and keeping up with what we're supposed to be doing. And so we asked your approval to allow us to use that $200,000 on this 48 unit project, and to create those documents that our council would work with your council to make sure that we get that right and give you what you need.
And Mayor, if I may, we discussed this, but because this was a resolution that was done before the council for 84 units, we had advised McCollum to come back before the board for that reduction to 48 units. We don't have a problem with it going to 48 units, but because it came before the board to get to 84, we want them to come back to reduce it to 48. So, and we think that the accountability that he's suggesting would be sufficient.
Anybody got any questions?
Yes, I do. Go ahead. Yes, and I understand, the market has risen. I totally understand that, and the cost has risen. I'm okay with the 48 units, but I want the city manager and the city attorney to give the city some type of accountability for those funds. As long as we do that, I'm okay with the 48 units. But that's important for the city manager here and the councils to make sure that the money is being spent and we know where the money is going. So accountability is where I'm at with that, in case you didn't understand where I was coming from.
Yes, sir.
And I know Mr. McCellum and Ms. McCellum will make sure that the accountability is there. There's no doubt in my mind they'll do that. Okay?
Mr. Martin, do you have any recommendations about how we should take action?
I think everybody is kind of converging on the same spot here, and that is that the action tonight be to give direction to me and the city manager to return at a future meeting with a resolution and agreement that outlines the parameters of what the conditions are in exchange for the change in the number of units from 84 to 48. In my review of the documents on this element of the project, Sweetwater 2, I can tell you on the city side, I guess the kind way to put it is the documentation's a bit lean. And so it would be, probably a good thing moving forward at this point to use this as an opportunity to document things well. So I think the action of the council, my recommendation would be to direct me and the city manager to return at a future date and to work with the applicant in the meantime.
Is there a motion?
If I may, Mayor, I request permission to help fast track this, because I know they're trying to get these documents to complete a loan process. So while we work on that, I'm requesting permission from the board to fast track it for them so they can still process their loan request.
Okay, got a motion?
I'll make the motion. I don't know exactly how we want it worded, but, before I do that, I would like to say, and this is nothing, to point finger or this is not just for, the Greater Lake City CDC. We are asking accountability. We've gotten in this space where we require accountability from anyone who come and ask for, assistance or ask for, whatever line of, help from the city. That's why the accountability, so whatever restrictions that the attorney and the others come up with, we hope that it all be in line, because I would like to see this happen, mainly for our community, for a city of Lake City. And with that being said, I will make the motion that with the to make the proper corrections for the 48 units. How do we want to word that?
Mayor,
Sure.
what do you feel about a motion to direct the city attorney and the city manager to return with a resolution and agreement that outlines the parameters for the project in exchange for the 84 units being modified to 48?
That's good.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I think it's well needed, and I know Mr. McKellar's worked hard on this project, so I'm in big full support. Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay. Thank y'all very much. We'll be back shortly.
When can we expect the letter like Don was saying, we need to expedite it.
I'm gonna fast track it. Him and I, we'll fast track it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Moore.
Mr. Martin?
Yes. We're ready to proceed with quasi-judicial hearings? Yes.
Okay.
Council members, tonight we have 5 matters that must be considered and voted on by the city council in a quasi-judicial manner. In succession, those items are on second reading, ordinance number 2024-2293, an ordinance pursuant to petition ANX 2403 for voluntary annexation submitted by VYP LLC. Item 2 is on first reading, an ordinance number 2024-2290, an ordinance amending the future land use map pursuant to a petition submitted by the property owner. Ordinance, also on first reading, ordinance number 2024-2292, an ordinance amending the official zoning atlas pursuant to a rezoning application submitted by the property owner. Ordinance 2024-2291, an ordinance amending the zoning atlas pursuant to an application submitted by the owner. And finally, resolution 2024-031, conditionally approving the final plat of Muffins Cove pursuant to a plat application SD 2303 submitted by 2814 LLC. The purpose of the following procedure is to ensure that an applicant provides a complete presentation of their request to the council prior to any testimony being provided by staff and the applicant. All testimony will be taken under oath, and everyone offering testimony will be subject to cross-examination. To accomplish this, the city, the applicant, the council, and other parties will be recognized in the following order. First, the city staff will provide a summary or overview of the application. Then the applicant will present its case, followed by city staff presenting a more detailed presentation in its case. If we have any party interveners, they would present their case. Then we would have participants in opposition or in support of the presentation making 3-minute statements. If we have any representatives of groups of 6 or more, then they would speak on behalf of their group and be allocated 5 minutes since they're speaking on behalf of a group. The applicant may then cross-examine any witness, and then the other parties would also be able to cross-examine those who've offered testimony. After these responses, if the mayor deemed it necessary and appropriate to ensure fairness, the mayor could choose to allow participants to respond to any testimony provided. After this, the city council members through the mayor could ask any questions of any of the participants and the applicant. After that, the applicant, followed by city staff, would make any final arguments related to evidence on the record. Then I will advise the council as to the applicable law. The council would then conduct open deliberations regarding the evidence presented, and the council would vote to either approve with conditions, or deny the applications. While City Council welcomes comments from all persons with an interest in the proceeding, Florida law requires the council's decision in quasi-judicial actions be supported by competent, substantial evidence presented to the City Council during the hearing on the application. Competent, substantial evidence is evidence a reasonable mind would accept as adequate to support a conclusion. There must be factual basis on the record to support opinion testimony from both expert and non-expert witnesses, and people providing testimony may support their testimony by relying on factual information provided by city staff, the applicant, or other information in the city staff report. At this time, I need to ask of each council member as to ordinance 2024-2293 if you've had any ex parte communications regarding this annexation ordinance. Councilwoman Young, have you had any ex parte communications? No. Councilman Carter? No. Councilman Jernigan? Have you had any? No. Councilman Hill? No. And Mr. Mayor? No. Okay. Council members, you have before you proposed ordinance 2024-2293 on second reading, which states an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida pursuant to petition number ANX 2403 submitted by VYP LLC, a Florida Limited Liability Company, formerly known as JCP-VYP LLC, a Florida Limited Liability Company, the owner of said real property, relating to voluntary annexation, making findings of fact in support thereof, annexing certain real property located in Columbia County, Florida, which is reasonably compact and contiguous to the boundaries of the City of Lake City, Florida, into the boundaries of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. At this time, Mr. Angelo, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And is that for all 5 hearings before the council tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed with an introduction and a brief summary.
All right, this is for Annex 2403 was the annexation of parcel number 02631-000, which more commonly known as the corner of, or right next to Dollar Discount Auto Parts, and that which is at the corner of Brantford Highway and Highway 90. And so they're looking to annex that into the city, and then following that, they will also rezone and then do a site plan at that.
Thank you. Do we have anyone here on behalf of the applicant? All right, seeing none, is there any additional testimony you wanted to offer, Mr. Angelo? And are you moving your staff report and the application into the record?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak to this particular matter? Seeing none, Mr. Mayor, council members, at this time it'd be appropriate to ask any questions if you'd like. And if no questions, the council may proceed with its deliberations. Your decision should be based only on the evidence provided by the sworn witness and other documents entered into the record. The application may be adopted if the proposed property to be annexed is contiguous to the current municipal boundary, if it is reasonably compact, and if the application for voluntary annexation bears the signatures of all owners of property in the area proposed to be annexed, otherwise complies with applicable state laws and does not confer special privileges or rights on any person. Should you wish to adopt the ordinance on second and final reading, an appropriate motion would be to adopt ordinance 2024-2293 on second reading as read by title only.
Move to adopt city ordinance 2024-2293.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any further discussion by council? Ms. Ocker, you call the roll.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Yes.
You ready to proceed on, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. The next item before you is ordinance number 2024-2290, which is a change to the comprehensive land future land use map. The applicant for this application is, let's see. It's been submitted by Lance Jones as agent for Daniel Crafts as trustee for the Northwest Quadrant Land Trust. And I'll read the ordinance before asking if any of the council members have had any ex parte communications. An ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use plan map of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan as amended, relating to an amendment of 50 or less acres of land pursuant to an application submitted by the property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from residential medium density or less than or equal to 8 dwelling units per acre to residential high density or less than or equal to 20 dwelling units per acre of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. On this particular application, Councilwoman Young, have you had any ex parte communications with the applicant? Councilman Carter?
No.
Councilman Jernigan?
No.
Councilman Hill?
No.
And Mr. Mayor?
No.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Angelo, you may proceed at this time.
Thank you. This is for CPA 24-02. They are looking to change the future land use from residential medium to residential high, which would be 8 dwelling units up to 20 dwelling units. This will allow for a total of about 32 units total, and that's for that parcel.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the applicant tonight? Mr. Jones. Raise your hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Lance Jones with Jones Engineering, 855 Southwest Bay Drive. Yeah, this is for a 1.63 acre property. It's located in between Lake City Avenue and Hall of Fame Drive. There's currently a lot of duplexes over there, and then there's just an approval for a high density adjacent to it, contiguous to it, 19 acres. So looking to make the most use out of the land and increase the density and match the contiguous property. Probably, it's going from allowable 13 units, 13 doors right now, to an allowable 32, more or less looking at 24, 28 total units developed.
Thank you. Are you moving your application into the record? All right, thank you. At this time, we will hear a presentation from city staff.
All right, so this property is located on Hall of Fame Drive, and that just to the northeast of this property is another property that is residential high density, which would have the same land use, future land use as this one would have. And city staff has reviewed this project along with the school board, the county, Swanee River Water Management, and Florida DOT, and all parties are all had no concerns with them. The only statement that Swanee River Water Management had that when they go to a site plan, they would need to submit for an ERP permit.
Great. Thank you. And are you moving your staff report into the record?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here, anyone else that wishes to speak to this particular matter before the board tonight? Seeing none, do you have any closing comments at all, Mr. Angelo or Mr. Jones?
I do not.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the applicant? Or
I have just one question. I think you might have misspoke. What's the number for this ordinance that we're talking about now?
9-0.
Okay.
No, I don't know what I said.
No, I'm sorry. No, Mr. Angelo, when he finished today, he said a different number than that, but I thought that was.
His ordinance number is 9-0. Mm-hmm. If there are no further questions, Mr. Mayor, at this time, the council may move to deliberations. The council's decision should be based only on evidence provided by sworn witnesses and may be adopted if it preserves the internal consistency of the city's comprehensive plan, complies with applicable state laws, and does not confer special privileges or rights on any person. Should the council wish to adopt this ordinance, an appropriate motion would be to adopt ordinance number 2024-2290 as read by title only.
Any motions?
Move to adopt 2290 as submitted.
Second.
Then a motion and a second, any discussion of council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Winn?
Yes. Move to the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, you have before you proposed ordinance 2024-2292 on first reading. This is the companion ordinance rezoning the property that you just heard the future land use map amendment on. It's an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City land development regulations as amended relating to the rezoning of 10 or less contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z2403 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from residential multifamily 1 or RMF1 to residential multifamily 2 or RMF2 of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. At this time, I would make the same inquiry as earlier. Councilwoman Young, have you had any ex parte communications on this particular ordinance? Councilman Carter?
No.
Councilman Jernigan?
No.
Councilman Hill? And Mr. Mayor? All right, thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Angelo.
All right. So this is, as Mr. Martin alluded to, this is the companion zoning for the residential high density from the previous ordinance. This is for Z24-03, which is ordinance number 2024-2292. And this one will take it from RMF1, which currently is multifamily, to RMF2, so it's still be multifamily.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. And are you moving the city's staff report into evidence?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Jones?
Yes.
And you're still under oath.
Yes, this is just for the zoning to make this consistent with the land use change, so no further comments on that.
All right, and you're moving your application into the record?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Anyone else here to speak to this particular matter before the board tonight? And no closing comments from the applicant or city staff? Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions from members of the council?
Question? Okay.
Seeing none, at this time you may proceed to deliberations. The council shall take into consideration the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board, which was to approve this matter, and those matters listed in section 15.2.2 of the city's land development regulations. There was a copy of those at the dais in front of you that was placed there before the meeting. If the council wishes to adopt the ordinance, the appropriate motion would be to adopt ordinance 2024-2292 as read by title only.
Is there a motion by council?
Move to adopt ordinance 2292 as read by council.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Ivy, call the roll.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Young? Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Webb?
Yeah. Move to item 19.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, you have before you proposed ordinance 2024-2291, which states an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City Land Development Regulations as amended relating to the rezoning of 10 or less contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z-2402 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from commercial general or CG to commercial intensive CI of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. This application was submitted by Todd Sampson as agent for Blow Riderwood LLC. Same inquiry as earlier, Councilwoman Young, have you had any ex parte communications regarding this particular matter? Councilman Carter? No. Councilman Jernigan? No. Councilman Hill? No. And Mr. Mayor? Okay, thank you. Mr. Angelo, you may proceed.
So this one is for Z-24-02, it's 24-2291 in the ordinance. And that they're looking to change the zoning from a commercial general to a commercial intensive. And that this property is located along Main Boulevard, so it's along the main corridor.
Okay, and are you moving the city staff report into the record?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here on behalf of the applicant tonight? Mr. Jones? And you're still under oath.
Here we go again. Yes, this one's, this is a land use that's commercial. The zoning doesn't currently allow for the intended use under commercial general, so I'm looking there for commercial intensive. The intended development is for a metal building sales, portable shed sales lot located on 441 on that boulevard.
Okay, thank you. And are you moving the application into the record?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this particular matter before the board tonight from the public? Seeing none, any questions from the council for either of the presenters? No closing comments? No closing comments. Okay, thank you. Members of the council, you should base your decision only on the evidence provided by sworn witnesses or otherwise entered into the record. Taking into consideration the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board and those matters listed in section 15.2.2 of the city's land development regulations, which you have before you. Should you wish to approve this ordinance on first reading, an appropriate motion would be to approve ordinance 2024-2291 as read by title only.
Is there a motion to council?
Move to approve ordinance 2024-2291.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any further discussion? Ms. Ivy, call the roll, please.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Sorry, Ms. Young?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mayor Webb?
Yes. Okay, next is 20, City Council Resolution 2024-031, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have before you a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, conditionally approving the final plat of Muffins Cove, a minor subdivision, pursuant to plat application SD 23-03 submitted by 2814 LLC, a Florida Limited Liability Company, providing conditions, providing direction to the city manager, city clerk, and city attorney, providing for recording, providing for resolution of conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. This time, same inquiry as before regarding ex parte communications. Ms. Young, have you had any communications with this applicant regarding this particular development? No. Councilman Carter? No. All right. Councilman Jernigan? No. Councilman Hill? No. And Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I've spoken with Mr. Ward several times about, as everybody's aware at these meetings, of just the progress of it, not any details, but just where's it at, what we need to do.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And nothing in those communications would affect your ability to render an impartial hearing and consideration of this matter before you tonight? Okay, thank you. Mr. Angelo.
So this is for SD 23-03, which is resolution number 2024-031. And it is for parcel number 11209-000. They are looking to replat this. They've all done all the survey work, everything needed for that. This will allow for a subdivision for about 12 homes to be put in place. And once this is done, then we can get it recorded, and then they can start the building process from there and add some much needed housing in.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. Is there anyone else here tonight that wishes to speak to this particular matter? Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Bowden had mentioned you want to speak.
Well, I hope not.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So you're here to speak on behalf of the applicant? You are the applicant. Okay, I'm sorry, we haven't been introduced. I apologize. So this time it would be your opportunity to present the application. If you could raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I do have one question. Why is it conditional when we submitted everything to the building department? I noticed that this one says it's conditional.
So there are, if I may, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
All right. The Land Development Code requires obtaining a particular, I'm sorry, let me go back a notch here. I'm on the wrong resolution. Give me just a second.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, we submitted everything, so I don't know if it was overlooked that we submitted everything that was required and conditional was put on there, but we've met all the conditions.
So the one condition that you can't get before plat approval is the certificate to be obtained from the executive director of the utilities certifying that you've posted bond or installed the required improvements set forth on the plat. So the plat has to be approved before you can get that. So that was one condition, and that's a provision in the Land Development Code.
That's what we're doing tonight, correct?
We're approving the plat, and then that would be a subsequent step following plat approval.
Okay, so after plat approval, then the only thing that I have to do is say it again.
So you would be obtaining a certificate from the executive director of utilities certifying that you have posted bond or installed the required improvements as set forth in the plat or the land development regulations.
And I can't do that until this is.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just a sequential matter, and then the other matter is something that was discussed. I'm sorry, my computer's not cooperating here. The next resolution actually is a condition, and its approval is a condition, and that is the dedication of the road through the subdivision based on the filing of a road maintenance map.
Right, but that will take care of the second.
I'm sorry?
That will take care of the second condition.
That would take care of that is on the next agenda item.
Right.
So that would be taken care of. But because we are taking this one first, we had to place that condition in it, but it'll be fulfilled potentially on the next agenda item. I can't predict what the council's vote will be, but.
Right, okay, I just want to understand, so the second, the 21st one, will that solve the first, the first condition on two conditions?
I'm sorry.
You're saying there's two conditions.
Those are the two conditions. They're actually in order. A is the road dedication matter that we will visit on the next agenda item. The second one, item B, is the certificate from the executive director of the utilities department.
Okay, and that'll all get resolved with the second, the 21st one. Okay,
I'm not sure when you say the 21st, what do you mean
on the agenda, the item number.
Oh,
The
it's-
first item number.
Oh, okay. Is it item 21 on the agenda?
It is.
Okay,
It is.
that's what I wasn't
Okay.
understanding. I'm sorry. So I thought you were talking about our next council meeting actually on the
No.
21st. So, all right. I'm with you.
Resolution 126.
Resolution 126, yes, will be the one that deals with the road dedication matter.
Okay.
Excuse me, Clay?
Yes.
It's also conditional because she can't get the permits until after she's done all those things. So in order to actually build the houses, she has to get a permit too from the building department.
Correct, but that would be that would be conditions to commence construction, not conditions on the actual plat itself.
Right.
So, all right. So, do you have anything else to offer on the application or just the questions?
No, I just had that question.
Okay, all right, thank you. And do you wish to,
Answer any questions if you have any.
are you moving the, your application into the record as well? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak to this particular matter tonight? Two hands. Do you swear that you're going to, do you swear you're going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I rise on the corner where they call Northeast Bowden Way. I moved there from the Red Quarters when I was 6 years old. The Red Quarters was a quarter that existed at the intersection of Baskin Ross and Mary Street. When we moved over there, it was a dirt road. The houses from Goodwine all the way down to the end, to the drainage ditch, was all shotgun houses. House I grew up in was a 2-bedroom, 1 kitchen, a living room, and it housed 8 kids and 2 adults. All our siblings slept in the same room at that same location. And so I rise tonight, man, supporter because I see an improvement taking place. I remember when it first developed, it was called the FC Cummings subdivision. There was an AME preacher out of Jacksonville that came to Lake City, and he had this idea about developing these homes for the first homeowners. And it was successful. People got this movable house for the first time. They had to put some sweat equity in it, so they were able to move it. I don't know how the finances took place, but for some reason it kind of fell through the cracks. But from the beginning though, it was a big thing. New houses, people felt good about it, I felt good about it, and that's how it happened. Now, the street got the name on it, either after I was on the city council or during the 911 thing. And how it got there, because Larry Lee was the zoning director at the time, and all he could remember was that, yeah, they used to stay right there. I said, yeah, we did stay right there at that house, you know. He said, well, you have a problem with the name? I said, I don't care what the name, you know, you can name anything you want to, but I'm not requesting it. So that's how that got to be Northeast Bowden Way. Keep in mind, there was only houses on Frontage Street at the time. There was no houses in the area what's going to be now Mustard Cove. It was nothing back there but woods. You know, my dad had a hog pen back there. He kept 1 hog. He killed it once a year around Thanksgiving time, you know. So it's an improvement for our community. It's something that's needed. It's going to force some additional housing in our community. And just because I know the history of it, I knew what it was like to live there. So I don't see any grounds to not support it. And so I would encourage the city council to move expeditiously with this and make it happen. That's all I need to say this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Is there anyone else present tonight who wishes to comment on this particular matter? Any questions from council for any of the applicant, presenter? Seeing none, or is the applicant, Mr. Angelo, are y'all waiving closing statements, or do you have anything else you wish to add? Wait, okay. All right. At this time, members of the council, you may proceed with your deliberations. The application may be adopted if it complies with requirements for a minor subdivision set forth in the city's land development regulations. And this comes to you recommended by the city's Planning and Zoning Board. Should you wish to approve this application, you may discuss the application and testimony, and an appropriate motion would be to approve resolution number 2024-031 is read by title only.
Is there a motion as the city council resolution 2024-031?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make that motion on 2024-031. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to say something to that as well, Mayor. I remember when I was a little boy living over there by Cedar Park, and Ms. Bowden lived right there on Phony. We used to go over there and get those squeeze cups. Back during that time, we called them honey drippers. And that was some of the best honey drippers. You can call it Kool-Aid, pineapple, orange, grape. They're some of the best honey drippers that you can get from Miss Bowden. So I definitely in agreement with this because I knew what the housing looked like then and what is the potential of more houses coming in that area. I think this is a good project for the city of Lake City.
Ma'am. Ms. Sykes, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, next we have City Council Resolution 2024-126. Mr. Martin, would you read that by title?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, approving and certifying a maintenance map identifying and describing that certain street in the city known as Northeast Bowden Drive, and thereby vesting ownership in the city in accordance with Section 95.361 Florida statutes, making certain findings of fact in support of the city, approving said maintenance map, recognizing the authority of the mayor and city clerk to execute said maintenance map in accordance with Florida statute, directing the mayor and city clerk to execute said maintenance map in accordance with Florida statute, authorizing and directing the filing thereof in the office of the clerk of court of Columbia County, Florida, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion of the City Council Resolution 2024-126?
Mr. Mayor, I make that motion of 2024-126.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Hill? Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, we're finished those items. At this time, I would like to do a hurricane update. Mr. Rosenthal, you want to kind of
Yes.
give us some?
Yes, ma'am. So I'll give you a summary hurricane update. Helene was a Category 4 to 5 storm that produced some of the highest winds that anybody in the city had ever witnessed. Our Executive Director of Utilities and his staff worked diligently night in and night out, cutting down falling trees and tossing those trees. And later they had to come back and pick up those tossed materials. And they've been doing that since the storm hit, and when the storm, I'm talking about Helene. And while that process, the cut and toss part of it is complete, staff still is working on getting rid of the debris caused by the first storm. And we're planning to repeat the process for the upcoming storm. Steve Brown and his team is doing an extraordinary job for the city over an extended period of time because these storms are lined up one right behind the other. And that's pretty much where we are.
Brandon, did you want to say anything?
Thank you, Mayor. To Mr. Rosenthal's point, I just wanted to kind of paint a little bit of a picture. I heard Mr. Bowden speak, and I apologize, I got jockeyed in between road and debris. Just a little bit of history on how we prepare for these storms so the citizens know what we do kind of behind the scenes. On Wednesday, prior to the storm, we started making calls Tuesday afternoon. On Wednesday, we had confirmed 4 pickup crews, or push crews they call them, out of Ocala. We had those guys staged close enough so that when the wind subsided enough that we could actually get out on the street. We had a safety meeting at Public Works at 4 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning. Those crews were actually assigned to a supervisor. At Safe Light, all of our crews were divided, so we had a total of 6 and sometimes 7 crews that were out. As Ms. Rosenthal said, what our main mission was in the initial push was to just get the roadways open. Within 24 hours, all of our main arteries and almost all of our side streets were open. We did have a few that were caught up in power lines that we could not get down. But with the most part, all of our roads were open. Every department within our utility and water department, gas department, DNC, everybody has assisted in this. So we literally have crews in every section of every town, in every section of our town. Depending on this storm that's coming, we will continue to do the same procedure of preparing. Now, it could it could hinder us as far as picking up debris, obviously. As more trees come down, we're gonna be trying to get to those as quick as we can. As far as the state of your utilities, we had a gas line rupture at 4 o'clock in the morning, the same time during the safety meeting, ironically enough. We had a tree fall that had grown around a service line, so we had one glowing gas line that we made safe within 30 minutes. We had an FPL crew that worked without a complete locate, and they drilled through a force main. So we had 2 utility issues we were able to repair within hours. So everything, nobody lost service. We do have a tool that I'm going to get with IT about tomorrow and try and get it where we can share it. We have a debris tracking map. What that tool is designed for is internal uses, so we can see what roads we've been down. I'm going to be completely honest. We implemented that because we found we were redundantly going over the same roads because some people were putting debris out faster than others. So what was happening is we were getting calls saying that you hadn't been down my street, and in fact we had, we just made the first pass. So we implemented that map that said that we had been there, we would be coming back around to make a second pass. So we will try and get that on our website if IT has the ability. If they do not have the ability, they will call our Public Works Department. We can update as we've been through there, we'll try and utilize that tool as well.
Are you gonna do sandbags for this one, or is it necessary the way it's going?
I have not, we haven't addressed the sandbag yet. I haven't got the latest advisory on the new storm. So what we've done as far as the sandbag goes is we actually got our inmate crew, while we had access to them, and our staff to actually put those sandbags on pallets. And then we're putting the pallets in our warehouse. So we're, instead of having to stop, drop, roll to get sandbags put together, we actually just pull the pallet out and put it in line now. So it makes it very, if we have any downtime or anything like that, which we haven't had any of that lately, we would have them go ahead and have some of those sandbags. So we have them actually ready to go if we get the call and find that there's a need for them.
Mr. Rosenthal, have you decided on any closures yet?
No, Mayor, I haven't. I'm trying to I want to get an update at 9 o'clock in the morning from the county and see what they're gonna do.
And Chief Butler, did you want to add anything?
Like the city manager said this morning, we had a meeting at the EOC. As everybody's aware, last year we combined the city EOC with the county. We were notified today that effective tomorrow at 6 p.m., the county will activate the EOC, the shelters, and also the Citizens Information Center phone line. At 5 o'clock tomorrow, the police department will go to emergency schedule because we do man the shelters inside the city and we also man the EOC. Right now, the weather, it's impact this area Wednesday night to Thursday. Winds somewhere around 57 miles an hour with higher gusts, which is basically tropical storm. Right now, they're figuring 2 to 4 inches of rain. So, my guess is right now the major impact, unless the storm changes track, all the evacuees who are coming into the city. We've experienced that before with storms that have hit South Florida. All the restaurants, gas stations start running out of fuel. So the police department will be on a setting so that we can assist, and also FHP is going with the emergency access lane on the highway from Tampa up at 75 to I-10. That's being activated so we can expect even more traffic in the city. But again, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. is our next update.
Does council have any questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to, Mr. Brown. Just for clarification, the tree that was down Gibson and Georgia or Florida Street?
Yes, sir.
It had power lines, correct?
Yes, sir. It was in the top of it, and we had went around and addressed it initially to cut and toss it. Had we have known at the time that 98% of them had no power, we would have moved it a little quicker. But that one, it had Comcast and everything in the top half of it, so we cut the bottom half of it after I spoke with you. And then the one you called about today, I have not got to yet, but I'll have you next on that one.
Okay, appreciate, thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Brown. I've noticed that on some of the roads, you've already been there and dealt with a portion of it, and then it's taped off. So can you tell me why it wasn't completed, why is it roped off?
If we had a broke water line or something to that regard, they take them off to the utility crews, get back to them. but most of all the debris piles we're picking up as we're going, unless it has a large trunk, a large portion of the trees in it. And the reason why that is not all of our trucks are equipped to haul that kind of load, so we're having to send the load boy back to them to get the base of the tree.
Okay, and even if it has, it's causing, where traffic can't go through.
And those, so we've got one of those on Ashley Street right now that we're trying to get to quickly. We had a situation, we've had it before, it's happened to us actually numerous times. This time there was just so much debris, as Noah said earlier, it's just the largest event we've had to deal with. The contractors got ahead of us by such a distance that they piled and just piled and just piled and just piled. Our normal pickup would be with a truck that is equipped with a hydraulic boom to go out and pick it up, and some of those are stacked in a way that they're not safe for us to dismantle with that truck. We're actually gonna have to walk equipment out there and take them apart.
And when we say contractors, just to be clear, when we say contractors, these are the people who have been paid to come out and take care of the issue, so they did part of it and then put it out for the city,
And
which
so
shouldn't happen.
that should not happen, and that's what's happened. We don't mind picking up during storms, but what we find is they've charged the citizens, and then they've actually taken the debris and put it out by the roadway for the city to pick it up. And that's one of the huge issues that we have.
So if I may, we noticed that the county had a very similar problem, so we're gonna be coming back with an ordinance very similar to the county's ordinance that addresses that.
Mayor, if I may, Mayor? Okay, no, you can have a seat, there's no problem. I look at it like this right here, and, you know, so some people can tell you some things and you pay close attention to what they're saying. I need to know, well, the citizens need to know exactly what, for example, we all know the storm is coming. You know, what's the schedule? What's the dynamics of this storm and how it's going to affect them? You know, getting sandbags up, the information. There's a lot of people out there cannot get that information off of Facebook or the newspaper or the EOC. They don't have that type of communication. The citizens need to know by putting something on the sign out there when they pass by, they can see that, or putting a sign in north, east, south, and west of the city. That way, everyone know exactly what's going on. When you talk about the police department working 24 hours a day, you talk about the fire department, they can't go out if the wind is above 45 miles per hour, I think it is. Citizens need to know this kind of stuff. That way, if they're told to evacuate, they need to go ahead and get out. Because they know the fire department, the police department is not going to come out and risk other lives. This is the kind of stuff that the citizens need to know, rather than, because the life is important first, and then we try to get to utilities, pickup, so forth and so on. So how do we get that information out there for the citizens to know what we're gonna do? It's almost like we don't know if we're gonna close down City Hall, okay? When we find out that information, everybody in City Hall will know that the city is closing. But the people who live north of town, south of town, east of town, west of town, they don't know exactly what's going on, and this is what we got to get something implemented where the citizens of Lake City will know exactly what's going on. In Columbia County, they have that EOC meeting out there. They got all their essential staff there. We don't meet like that, you know. We just fall in line behind them, and I know that's the rules and regulations or whatever. However, that still does not constitute why we must get that information out there to the citizens of Lake City, some kind of way.
Rick, during this last storm, I went to as many of those EOC meetings as I could.
I did too.
We're there also. So like the manager, the police chief, the fire chief. I get what you're saying, kind of, but we can't put signs up with pages of information. We have a Facebook page, we have a website, whenever the city hall is closed, we post online. We can't chase people down to tell them the information. If people want to know, it is pretty accessible. But we can't possibly put all this information on a flashing light sign. Also, I think the county does a really good job posting their updates as well on Facebook. It's not ideal, but online is the most universal way to reach as many people as possible if they want to know. Most of these updates are posted.
And I totally get that. And again, I'm not telling you requesting signs to be posted when all of this information out there. We got to prioritize the things that we need out there, because the citizens, I'm telling you that they're not getting the information, and they can't afford to get the information. I mean, let's look at it like that. Of course, we go to those meetings and I see it, and I try to get as much information out there as I can to my constituents to let them know exactly if we have a shelter. Where is the shelter? Richardson Community Center. I try to let them know that. Just simple things. It's not the list of everything that goes on at the EOC. I get it, but those things like that. If you have an evacuation, or the police department's not going to come out and get you if you choose to stay in that house, knowing that you don't have power, or you have to go to get insulin. You know, it's just certain things like that it's got to be on ice. So we need to know where the ice is. Can we get it from the fire department? Can we get it from Richardson Community Center? They just need to know. And it's so important that some of the citizens don't know this. And we've never experienced anything like this before, so you got to think about that. Okay, so I'm just saying that if we could put something in place, it don't have to be a sign. I can go door to door and let them know what's going on, because I'm telling you that there's a lot of people out there that don't know what's going on in Lake City, and that's why we get all these phone calls. If provided we had some of that information out there, you know, it would be just a little bit better. I'm not saying that it's going to be perfect, okay? I'm not saying that, but putting something on a sign that we have we can go to Richardson Community Center, and I say we, that's include me too, you know. So let's think about that, and that way, again, it's best for us to have it and not need it than to need it and don't have it. So just keep that in mind.
And if I may, Mr. Jernigan, one thing I'll share with you, that I would recommend, and I inquired myself with District 10, that you will get a list of your seniors, get their phone numbers, and at least give a phone call, check on them, or ask them if they have any questions or concerns.
If I may, people don't have internet access. One of the reasons we moved our EOC out to merge with the county is so everybody got the same information and there wasn't any confusion. But if somebody does not have internet, all they have to do is call the Citizens Information Hotline, which is run out at the county EOC, 386-719-7530. Those phones are manned 24/7. If there's a city issue, they either get a hold of the police officer. I keep a sergeant out there around the clock. Fire department keeps people out there, Public Works, or we can contact the other departments that are necessary. And then if it's a county issue, they refer it to the sheriff or whoever the appropriate agency is. So again, if somebody does not have internet, the number is 386-719-7530. And for the next storm that's coming up, that phone line will go active at 6 p.m. tomorrow.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor.
Council.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I have a question concerning the debris, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I want to be sure I understand the city manager. There's a lot of debris that's on the side of the road. The edge of the road was put there with the understanding that it's going to be picked up now. Point blank question, the city going to pick up that debris that's on the edge of the road that was taken down?
Mayor, I'm going to ask Steve Brown to address that.
So
all organic storm debris. That means, so all organic storm debris will be picked up by your public works department. If it has household garbage in it, if it's mixed in with any other, even if it blew down, if the tree blew down and landed on something, if it is piled together, we cannot pick that up, and our contract with Waste Pro won't allow them to pick it up. So as long as it is separated, we pick up the organic, which is the trees, the limbs, all that stuff, as it's placed in the right of way. We don't go on private property, we don't pick up anything that's got household garbage in it.
Thank you.
The question, Mayor, the right of way is one thing, my property runs right up to the edge of the road, correct? The tree fall, cut down, put on the edge of my property, it's not on the, if I put on the right of way, it'll be in the street.
Right.
So you don't have to come all the way into my yard to get it, but it's right there on the edge of the road. So, I'm not just talking about my property, I mean, if necessary, I can get it moved, I'm talking about up and down that whole family drive, there's a whole lot of debris down there, I don't do it all around town. So I just wanna be sure that people who look out their back door, old people looking at their door, oh my God, when are you gonna pick up that trash? You know, that's what they thinking about, you know.
Not trash. Just debris,
Yeah,
not trash.
well, I call it trash, I know it's, I'm talking about the limbs and the trees and the trunks and that kind of stuff. That look like a pulpwood. Need to come, so you gonna get that. Okay, that's all.
Okay, anything else, council?
Yes. First of all, also, just like everybody else said, every time we go through one of these things, I'm always instantly shocked at how well and efficient and quickly our Public Works jumps into action and gets things cleared up and gets roads freed up and so on and so forth. I've been sick for the better part of the last week, and I've had this lingering cough, so I just want to apologize for the audible assault I've put on y'all tonight. A couple things that have been pointed out over this last storm, I just think it's worth clarifying. Some of it kind of already has been, but I had a list of things to say anyway, so. And also just want to double check. If a tree falls on a power line, we can't touch it, right? We gotta wait for FPL no matter how long it takes for them to do it. So if there's a tree laying on the road, but it's on a power line, making a video saying the city's mean for not moving it is not necessarily all that
That's
effective.
not fair. If it is safe to cut the base of the tree to open the roadway, we will, but if the road power line is blocked with it, there's nothing we can do with the power line.
Thank you.
That's not the case on different street, I tell you.
And
Do not lie, sir.
And then, my other question was, if they're starting emergency procedures tomorrow at 9 a.m., I think is what they said, or something like that, do we need to prepare to have a special meeting tomorrow sometime to?
They're gonna get the update at 9, and everybody will decide what we need to do, and then we'll know more after 9 in the morning.
Is after 9 o'clock meeting with the, so we kind of, we'll brief.
We may be meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
That's
I
it.
wanna thank our staff, they do a tremendous job out there in the bad weather, the police, the fire, the public works, utilities, everybody. And, we do appreciate it, y'all do a great job. With that, we will be adjourned.
Thank you.